Alright guys, so I wanted to share an experience actually Rachel started with, and then it wound up bleeding into the shop. Who was it? What was the used car dealership that dropped off that like 2000 Toyota Camry?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Stars?
No, it wasn't Stars.
Toyota Camry?
Remember that they called and said do the job, and they called back.
Oh, Carmax.
So Carmax, we used to do a lot of work for Carmax. Carmax has their own service department, but their in-house policy is I don't think they do anything that's over 4 hours labor, so they can continue to move through the quick lane type of repairs. You follow me? They want to keep turning, oil changes, maintenance, sales, things like that. So their angle, right, is to service their own vehicles for recondition and after sale. Smart. But then it's not so smart, because then when you need to have work done, you have to rely on a shop that'll do the brutal, nightmare, long, labor-intense jobs. You have to actually just take care of them, right? You can't just send them the garbage work. And what do I mean by that? There's plenty of it out there. So I guess they took this older vehicle in trade, and from my understanding that the employees actually get an opportunity to buy the stuff before it goes out to wholesale. Typically their trade-ins don't go back for retail unless it's something newer and the customer didn't like it or was a problem or something like that. But the older inventory that the employees actually get a chance to buy, so I'm sure that they're buying up older inventory and selling it themselves. This is just my thought, because I've tried to buy cars from them before and like, oh no, an employee bought this. So they have the inside line. So the story is, we have this car for exhaust from what is it? Carmax? Carmax. Like I said, we used to do a lot of work for them years ago, and as management changes, as service writers changes, you become not the favorite person anymore. We don't do engine and transmission work for them. So at that point in time, you would take care of them and you would help them out as much as you can, as much as they're supporting you. That's just how business goes. A handshake for a handshake, right? And if you're
like that.
Right, and if you only show up for the Band-Aid work every once in a blue moon, not really your friend anymore. You know what I mean? And that's how it goes. So, and I'll just give you the finishing touches on the story where they bring this older Camry. There is a note. Looked like it was handwritten by somebody who can't write just like myself. Like the penmanship wasn't really good. So, not that that means anything, but I look at penmanship and I say, wow, mine's just as bad as theirs.
Yeah.
Please weld flex section only. It wasn't typed out on a RO, just on a piece of paper. And then I was like, all right, well, let me bring the car in and check it out. I don't never know what I'm getting into. So I put the car up in the air. I actually did a video on this car. No, sorry, I took pictures for Rachel. So in case they challenged us, we could say, yeah, dude, it's way more than just a flex pipe. So it was a flex pipe. There was no bolts holding that hanger to the frame in the center of the car. They were completely missing. And then the flange at the back muffler was rusted out and leaking. So I told Rachel, like, yeah, we're not just doing a flex pipe. New flex pipe. I'm sure we have bolts for the hanger and repaired the flange at the back. And this was all going on the same time the other guy was with his Toyota, and he tells us that he can buy his own cat back for $180 as he's pacing outside the shop like he's expecting a baby on the way. And I always said that's a pink or a red flag for me when the customer's up your ass constantly about nothing, right? This is how I feel about nothing. So I tell Rachel what I want to charge for this job for them, because I have sliding scales for pricing for vendors, right? The more the vendor's taking care of me, the more the vendor gets taken care of. That's business. The less the vendor takes care of me, and the more garbage shit that they send me for work is the higher the prices I charge.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I do it. If you support me every once in a blue moon and you don't send me any decent work, you send me the stuff that no one can do or you can't do or you don't want to do, and I charge a premium for that. And if you're you've wasted my time scale more than you've actually sent me work, that scale becomes even higher. So it wasn't that high. I'm going to tell you it was $250 to do the work, flex pipe, hanger bolts, cut the flange out in the back, weld in a sleeve, make the job perfect. As I'm welding the last weld on the pipe, they call and say, we don't want to fix the car. After they already gave us the approval. We don't want to fix the car. Rachel's like, that was 28 minutes ago. He's just about finished. They're like, well, we're not going to pay for it. She goes, yeah, you think so? That's your problem. You gave us the approval. The job's done. You can come pick it up. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to tell Rachel to tell them to bring me the title, and I'll give them what they want for the car. So if they want $1,500 for it, instead of them giving me,
Is it the car that's sitting out front right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened is I'm probably going to guess the employee who was buying it for whatever they traded it for is what I'm guessing. Like they gave the customer $500 for the car, $800. Now the employee's like, oh, I can't afford another $250 for the car. We don't want to do the job. Because why would the dealership not want to make the exhaust quiet knowing they can get more money for it wholesale? I played this game 1 zillion times. I am your wholesale used car recondition expert, and I've been doing it for 20 plus years. Almost 30 years. So, yeah. So they said that they weren't paying for it. Yeah. I guarantee you they show up with a check or a credit card Monday or the title. And that's that. They don't take care of me, and I'm not going to take care of them. That's just the way it goes. So we have another shop that we do work for. I'm not going to give out his name because he's a good dude. He really does try to take care of us. But man, when he works, he has some shit problems like we see some shit problems all the time. So, and every time I see him come with a car, it's not because it's an easy job. It's a difficult job 100% all the time. And Jeep with parking brake issues that they tried to get involved in. It was a complete clusterfuck. And, I finally figured it out and got it to work. And then like the week before that or the month before that, it's the end of the day. They can't get lug nuts off of custom wheels. And he's trying with a torch and all this other shit. And I just said, every time I see you, it's a fucking nightmare job, dude. Always. You bring me an exhaust system that doesn't fit, or you tried to fit it to the car and it's all fucked up.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I put these suspension parts on and it doesn't fit or it doesn't align, and we put this exhaust system on and it hits everywhere, and because most of those kits don't fit the car and you need an expert to do that stuff. So, and I said, every time that you call me or show up with it, it is a complete nightmare problem. I said, and I love you, dude, and you take care of me. I said, but it is very frustrating that I don't get any easy work from you.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. And I take care of him. He gets very special pricing for the problems that he comes across, only because we have such a good relationship. And he comes all the time with his headaches and problems. And I said, you come to me because nobody in your shop can do it. And I know you have other shops. They don't want to help you with that nonsense. And then I'm your last resort because I can get it done. I'm your guy. So for him, I continue to take care of it. But there will be a point in time where I say, I'm done with this because you're not giving me enough of the other work to make me be your emergency go-to guy. Like, you call an emergency plumber, it's $100 just for him to show up. And then you're paying emergency repair fees. You're not paying normal fees. So, but if you're giving him constant work and profitable work and things like that, we continue to keep the relationship open. I had an Indian guy that we were doing work hand over fist for years and years and years, and then it dwindled back, and then he thought that he could become an exhaust expert and do welding and do cats and all this stuff, and it became more of a nightmare, and on and on and on. And then, the relationship now is I see him every once in a blue moon for me to diagnose his nightmare problems. And I think the last time I told him is that this will be the last time that I diagnose or give you technical information or my trade secrets unless you're paying me for it.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him since. Because once you stop paying me for the other work, your exhaust pipes, flex pipes, this, that, hey, can you help me with this? And you're continuing to pay me, and you're keeping that relationship alive. It's like paying your electric bill. You're keeping your electric on. Once you start skipping payments with me and excuses and stop, I cut you off. Like, you're gonna have to go find another brilliant emergency go-to get it done kind of guy that's going to help you out and not charge you every time that you call or stop in, and I have to pick up my $5,000 or $10,000 diagnostic equipment to tell you you're an idiot, you left this unplugged, or your guy changed the wrong part, or whatever the case may be. So you have to continue to take care of that guy because he's your go-to guy. We have another dealership that I did a video about. I told you that we just refused to do work for them. Their customers were a fucking nightmare. They were a fucking nightmare. And the juice was not worth the squeeze. Yeah. And they called us and said, hey, we need, legit certified mechanic, paperwork signed and documented and all this shit. I'm like, yeah, no thanks. It's $150 just for me to look at the car. And they never showed up, so. Then we had another dealership, and this is usually how used car dealerships work. There's a lot of scumbag ones, and there's really a lot of good ones. It's just the way that it is. And don't take it personal if you're one of my subscribers to the used car dealership. It is what it is. It's the business, and that's the way it goes. So there's some super excellent ones out there, and there's just some shitty ones out there. And I deal with them all. There was another premier dealership that went from just a lot to a huge building with their own service department, and then they obviously weren't getting the best technicians in their service department, and we were getting some of their overflow work or nightmare work or heavy work or whatever the case may be, but they were continually feeding me, and then it actually just dwindled down to, like, anytime that they would bring me a car and I would check it out, it was just a checkout with no diagnostic charge. So after like the 5 or 6 times that happened, I told Rachel, party's over for these guys. We'll never look at another car. The tires will never touch my lift unless they're paying me to look at this car. I don't care if their mechanic said, their mechanic tells me what the codes are. I don't give a shit. I'm done. It's $90 minimum just for me to look at their car. So after Rachel told them that, it kind of went quiet for a while. And then now they're back. And know what they're back at? Premium pricing. That's the way it goes. You should have been taking care of me the whole entire time, instead of playing fucking games. And now they're back, and I'm glad they're back. But now they're not off. They're not even on the wholesale price. They're on the near retail price now. And that's what you get when you fuck around. And if my prices were still high compared to that, they're not stupid. They wouldn't say yes to the job. Right. So don't play games. Take care of the guy who's taking care of you all the time. And that's just like your mechanics. We're coming into the shittiest seasons that a mechanic could ever want to work in, right? Snow, slush, rain, sleet, all that crap. So when the customer shows up with 6 inches of snow on his car, or 2 inches of snow, or 1 inch of snow and ice, you know where that's at? Dripping in his face, dripping in his eyes, dripping down his arms, dripping down his pants, dripping in his boots.
We talk about this every winter.
Yep. Yep, and I refuse to bring in a customer's car that the snow is not cleared off on. Refuse. I will tell Rachel if they drove it out of their driveway and they drove it up to my front door with 3 inches of snow on it, I tell them to go out and clear the car.
Dylan used to do it.
But if it's wholesale and it's been sitting,
Yeah.
it's a different story. But if the customer is willingly just going to drive up to your shop with fucking snow and ice all over it, that pisses me off. You know, because as soon as it comes into the shop where it's 60 or 80 degrees, it's an instant thaw out all over you and the whole entire time you're working on the car.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, that's me, and that's just the way it is. I refuse after all these years to do that. And if they don't like it, go someplace else. You know, this is just how I feel anymore about what we do. The lack of respect for what we do every day, it pisses me off.
Yeah, sure.
So, like I said, if it's a customer's car and we left it outside and it's got snow all over it, different scenario. It's wholesale, it's been sitting out there, we finally got parts, different scenario. But if it's a customer's car and they're driving around with snow and ice all over it, absolutely not, won't come in my shop unless they go out there and take that snow off. You know, and it's still going to drip and make a mess in the shop, but I refuse to do that shit anymore. So this is the worst time of year, wherever these technicians are, in any environment, and even when it rains, like, it's still dripping all over you because it's running off the car. It's not as bad, but snow and ice get everywhere, and it's just a constant drip mess. Like, some days I'm soaked down to my underwear. Yep. And that's, you know, my own fault because I leave cars outside or whatever the case may be. We don't have a big place to cover cars and keep them from there, so.
Any place outside to cover cars.
But this is my feet are soaked and freezing all the time. It's just what it is. I'm sure a lot of technicians can relate to that, but I feel for you guys because I do it. You know, and I don't accept that from customers. I don't. If it's snowing, it's a light snow and it's not all over the place for certain circumstances. But if your vehicle is a popsicle with frostbite on it, yeah, I'm not real happy. Or I'll let them run outside for hours and defrost as much as we can and push off. But if the customer rolls up and their car's full of shit, no. If the law is that you can't drive with snow on your roof, my law is you can't drive with snow on your car in my shop. Alright, so love your mechanics, love your technicians.
Love your car.
Love your car.